The story kicks off with a boy stuck doing classroom cleanup duty. He walks past a classroom and, without meaning to, spots one of his classmates in the middle of changing. He moves fast and grabs the mop handle, jamming it against the hole to stop anything from getting through. He loses his balance and his foot slides out from under him. He pushes way harder than he meant to. A loud scream bounces around the place. After grinding through another packed school day at one of the best high schools in town, everyone finally gets to call it a day. Some girls, all looking pretty fit, were hyped up, talking about going back to the dorm to smash some. Two of the guys start grumbling. They were hoping to hit the shops, but the rain's coming down hard and of course they left their umbrellas behind. No choice but to head back to the dorm. Everyone keeps talking about how the weather's been acting up lately. It's been raining non-stop and the rain just feels off, almost gross. Checks out the duty chart to see who he's paired with today. Looks like it's him and AI on shift. He says something under his breath. Out of nowhere, he felt a single drop of water hit his shoulder. He glances up and notices water dripping from the ceiling. He grinned to himself, checking out how solid the place looked. Not bad at all. He needed to wrap up cleaning quick, though the ranked game was about to kick off. Nobody had seen AI around, and everyone started wondering where he went. Out of nowhere, he hears the sharp click of high heels coming down the hallway. His phone buzzed, and on the line was that sweet, almost too sweet voice reminding him about the drop. Yeah, the new iFruit just launched, and he'd promised to get it for her. No way he could forget that, even if he wanted to. After ending the call, AI shoots a quick smile at. She's got her hands full, so he's left to handle the cleaning solo. She figures since he didn't turn her down, he's cool with it. Raindrops started landing on her clothes, making little spots that stood out. AI ended up with dirty water all over her clothes, or at least that's what people were saying. She dipped out to the next classroom so she could change. Once again, he found himself stuck cleaning up solo. AI always dipped when it was time to help out. By the time he finished, the ranked match would probably be long gone. He decided to skip cleaning and just hop into a game instead. AI walked into the multimedia room next door, but it was leaking just like the last one. There wasn't any time to hunt for a dry spot, so he decided he'd just have to change there. That corner's not wet anymore. On the other side of this wall, there's just the classroom. Probably still in there, busy cleaning up. She was glad she remembered her parasol. After switching out her headgear, she popped it open and headed out. Sat there glued to his game, mumbling under his breath about school and how trash his Wi-Fi was. The principal still couldn't get the Wi-Fi working. As he passed by, he caught what was said, told the student to swing by his office after cleaning up. Thought just perfect, lost the game and now called in by the principal. What a day. He glanced up and noticed the ceiling leaking way worse than before. He had just finished cleaning off the whole board, but now there was dirty water everywhere again. He picked up the mop and went over the floor again. He stared, totally thrown off by how things just flipped out of nowhere. Right above the blackboard, water started dripping, and soon a tiny hole appeared. Leaned in, trying to get a better look. The second he saw what was inside, his face went bright red. AI's started getting changed. Just stopped in his tracks and stared for a couple seconds. He hadn't planned on looking, but out of nowhere, a hole just showed up in the board. He figured he should probably hide it. If AI spotted it, she'd totally assume he was creeping on her. He jammed the mop handle straight into the hole without hesitating. He slid it in a bit further and broke off the outside piece. That was all it took. He raised his foot, getting set to push down. He lost his balance again and slammed into it way harder than he meant to. Meanwhile, AI was over there sorting out her shoes. She winced as the mop handle poked her right in the side out of nowhere. His fresh outfit was already trashed. He winced, that pain hit hard. Something suddenly jabbed him, catching him off guard. A loud scream cut through the air, then everything just stopped. Grabbed his phone to check what was going on. His timeline was packed with people posting about classrooms flooding all over the campus. Everybody seemed locked in on the leaks today, he noticed to himself. He figured he should see what AI was up to since she hadn't made a sound. He headed over to the next room, curious but a little on edge. Blood started sliding out from under the door, spreading fast. His face lost all its color when he thought back to that last shove. She was literally just getting changed, but somehow the room looked like something wild just went down, almost like a crime scene or something. He lifted his head bit by bit, eyes locked on the vent overhead. Squinted, his eyebrows pulling together as he tried to figure out what he was looking at. It honestly just reminds him of AI's hair. Deep in the hole, something started shifting around, making slow, creepy noises. The sound kept going, creak after creak. Freaked out and rushed straight out of the classroom. He ran straight to the fire equipment room and snatched an axe. Out of nowhere, he heard this weird scraping sound from up top. Something was moving across the ceiling. He quickly shut the door and made sure it was locked tight. Someone was pounding hard on the door, making it rattle like it was about to fall off its hinges. Someone started knocking and his voice shook a little. Over in the principal's office, the table was piled up with red envelopes. The principal started counting, noticing right away there weren't as many as last semester. She wasn't happy about it. She spotted that teacher from class 1 hadn't given his share. With him retiring soon, he really didn't care anymore. That guy had some nerve. Teacher from grade 2. Dude had zero chill, especially with the younger kids. She picked up the stack, checked the weight with a quick look, book and couldn't help but scoff. It was way lighter than last time, no question. He noticed there were way fewer envelopes than usual. Looked like the rough economy was catching up to everyone. A drop of something dark landed on her shoulder. She let out a sigh, thinking how even bribes just don't hit like they used to. She shrugged it off and mentioned it was only about 200 grand, but hey, cash is cash. She decided to stash it away for now. She let out a cold laugh. When it came to people who didn't pay her, he already knew what was coming next. She glanced up, totally thrown off. The rain was coming down dark, almost like ink, and she was trying to figure out what was even happening. She leaned in, checking out the weird liquid. Out of nowhere, a bunch of black water dropped straight from the ceiling. She spun around, her eyes going huge when she saw this shadowy figure standing right behind her. Suddenly, something pulled her straight into the dark, no warning at all. A few seconds later, a pale arm slid out again and snagged some envelopes. The next second, it got yanked away again. All that was left on the ground was a pool of blood. The pounding started up again. His heart started beating fast. He couldn't stop thinking about whatever that weird thing was on the ceiling just now. It moved in this weird, almost creepy way faster than anything normal. 1 second it was there, then just like that, it was gone. He gripped the axe harder, locked in and ready for whatever was about to walk through that door. If anything showed up, he was set to take it out, no hesitation. The banging on the door just kept getting louder, each thud making the whole thing rattle. Stood his ground, not backing down for a second. He was ready for whatever was about to come through that door. It didn't matter if it was some dude or a straight-up monster, he wasn't letting anything past him. Red liquid started sliding out from under the door, inching across the floor. Right when he lifted the axe, someone outside called out, sounding pretty familiar. They wanted to know if was inside and if he'd wrapped up cleaning yet. He instantly recognized that voice. It was AI. Looked up, realizing someone was waiting on him to finish. He finally let out a breath and dropped the weapon a bit. He got right up to the window and checked outside. He could tell right away that something just wasn't right. Heard her voice from outside the room, soft and curious, wondering what he was up to in there. The floor outside looked straight up dirty. He just stood there, totally spaced out, while she told him to get back to cleaning. Let out a shaky laugh, realizing he'd totally stressed himself out for no reason. Guess he just overthought it and made it a bigger deal than it was. He leaned the axe up against the wall, figuring it was probably best not to freak her out any further. He scratched his head and gave a quick smile, kinda like he was still working things out. He knew he wasn't done yet, so he got ready to clean up the hallway right away. He grabbed the doorknob. He looked up kind of annoyed, thinking she was always on his case. It was supposed to be her turn anyway, and he definitely hadn't forgotten. Out of nowhere, AI ran her fingers down the glass, making this loud nails-on-chalkboard sound and leaving some serious cracks behind. She sounded mad, her tone way more intense than usual, and told to get cleaning right away. Jumped a little, that was intense. He thought girls could be seriously scary sometimes. AI just stopped moving, stuck in place. She kept saying over and over, asking why no one cleaned. Her mouth snapped open way wider than normal, her eyes straight up glowing red. She wasn't messing around, he knew he had to clean up, no excuses. Out of nowhere, AI clutched her throat, probably because she'd been yelling for too long, struggling to catch her breath. Saw what was happening and his fear just switched up. Suddenly, he was mad. He brought his axe down hard, letting out a loud yell as he did it. AI darted off so quick, it was like she just glitched out of sight 1 second there, next second gone. Had to take a second to chill and catch his breath, trying not to lose it. He spotted a trail of blood leading down the hall, so he booked it after her, following every drop until he ended up in the parking garage behind the building. He called out, hoping she'd show herself. The door of a black luxury car swung open with a drawn-out creak. Out of nowhere, a rush of blood poured out from inside, catching everyone off guard. Held his axe, squeezing the handle with both hands. He knew AI was hiding somewhere inside. He waited for something to go down, but when everything stayed quiet, he took a careful step forward. The inside of the car was totally cleared out. He stared at the blood, totally confused about where it came from. Someone was coming up behind him, their footsteps barely making a sound. A bigger guy showed up. It was his classmate Fatty. Fatty's voice shook a little. He looked around, not sure what just went down with. Spun around fast. He really hated when his buddy popped up out of nowhere like that. Fatty stepped back, catching off guard. Stood there, axe in hand, with blood all around, definitely not the usual dorm vibes. Fatty looked at him, eyebrows raised, clearly not expecting to find anywhere but gaming upstairs. He wondered what could be going on down here. He wasn't messing around, his dorm was straight up leaking and the Wi-Fi was trash. He only came out here hoping for better signal. That's when he picked up on someone shouting about AI. Fatty had heard him bring up her name before, so it just stuck in his mind. Wondered what was really going on with her. Fatty just grinned, thinking about how he'd been playing the long game, 3 years putting in work, hoping it would pay off big time later. Some things just can't be rushed, and he was cool with waiting. Just rolled his eyes, trying not to show he was annoyed. He wasn't here for any games, he just wanted to find her and make sure she finished what she started. There's nothing happening here yet. Just stared ahead, barely reacting, and said he was on cleaning duty. They had planned to team up, but she bailated early, saying she had other stuff to handle. He hung back after class and caught weird sounds coming from the room next door. When he peeked over, there was blood on the floor. Back then, noticed something shifting up in the ceiling. Blood kept dripping down nonstop. He tracks the path straight to this spot. Fatty noticed a pillar and pointed it out. The blood on it looked just like the stuff he saw back in the classroom, dripping down from the top. He started to think it might actually be coming from inside the pillar. Looked annoyed, he wanted to check the classroom one more time. If anyone was too freaked out, he just told them to head back to the dorm. Fatty squared up, acting like nothing could faze him. He wanted everyone to know he wasn't the type to get spooked. Walking through a graveyard at midnight, no big deal for him. Inside the school's art room, looked at her painting. She was nearly finished, but she realized she ran out of white paint. She figured she'd have to go grab some more from the classroom. She headed back, picked up the paint, and spotted the brush she thought was gone for weeks. She was about to dip out when a weird creak started coming from somewhere up top. She glanced up and just stopped in her tracks. Someone's face was peeking out from the ceiling, watching her. He looked up and spotted just hanging out above him, acting pretty sus. He knew he wasn't as big as, but catching her trying to sneak a peek, that was just wild. Out of nowhere, AI Kyan crashed down from the ceiling, tearing through desks and chairs like he was on a rampage. She's out there just wrecking everything. He saw it all, and honestly, it made him freeze for a second. Rushed out of the classroom, her heart racing like she'd just finished a sprint. Out in the hallway, he could still hear the non-stop banging from inside. Came sprinting down the hallway, clutching an axe. He was looking for and wanted to know if he'd seen AI or anywhere. She raised her hand toward the classroom, her voice unsteady. That's where she was hiding. Swung the door open and just stopped. The place was a total mess, like something wild went down while he was gone. He looked at her all stiff and on edge. He wanted to know if she got jumped but just shook her head. Nobody attacked her, but they had to dip fast. She knew someone could show up out of nowhere any minute. Had this serious look. Right now AI was just breaking stuff, but he knew it could flip on them out of nowhere. Fatty gulped and started looking around, ready to dip. The place just had that weird vibe, like zombies could pop out any moment. Looked outside at the window, but it was just total darkness. They were stuck. Going out there wasn't an option. Whatever was waiting outside was way more dangerous. He lifted his axe, getting ready for whatever was coming next. Out of nowhere, the window just broke apart. He froze for a second, realizing it was way worse than he ever expected. The whole school was covered in this deep red liquid, almost like the walls were bleeding and the place was breathing on its own. He watched as the thing started pulling in buildings like it was nothing. AI, Fatty, and him, that's what he mumbled to himself. Everyone started wondering if they'd already changed. If that was actually happening, he started thinking maybe everyone at the school was already dealing with it too. He glanced down at his hand. Those weird webby lines in his skin were finally starting to disappear. Once his hand looked normal again, he let out a breath he didn't even know he was holding, feeling way lighter. Fatty and moved in, looking at to check if he was alright. Kept it chill and said he was good, his voice barely above a whisper. Out of nowhere, Fatty clutched his neck and let out a groan. He was crazy thirsty. Grabbed a piece of broken glass, her hands shaking and her face super pale, ready to swing if he made a move, but stepped in before she could do anything. He noticed that the weird marks on the guy's neck showed up earlier and then vanished after he drank some water. Realized this guy was definitely not like AI. Her whole thing started with her eyes changing first. He looked at Fatty's face, all messed up and twisted from pain. The guy was losing it, practically screaming nonstop. All he could think about was water. He needed it bad. Looked around the room, but there wasn't any water. He thought about the store downstairs. It probably had some, but he knew he didn't have time to go check. He glanced down and spotted a grimy mop bucket just sitting in the corner. He just reached out and took it, no second guessing. He dumped the dirty water right into Fatty's mouth without a second thought. Froze for a second, surprised. He glanced over at Yi, ready to jump in and help clean up the water. Fatty looked tired and barely had any energy left. John was pushing him way too hard, and Fatty could already tell his stomach was about to act up. Let out a deep breath and glanced at the others. He decided someone needed to keep an eye on things here. He figured he'd make a quick run to the store to grab some clean water since it was all they could really do right now. Slammed her phone, totally freaking out. The police weren't picking up, hospital line was useless, and even the security office was just straight up ignoring her. Brushed it off, totally unfazed. No service anywhere, so they were basically stuck figuring things out themselves. He needed water ASAP. His friend was in real trouble, but at least he wasn't about to get jumped right away. Out of nowhere, Fatty shot up, looking like he just respawned with full HP. He made it super clear he wasn't done for, and there was no way he was about to get treated like some helpless kid. Whatever messed him up, he was ready to throw hands and wasn't backing down. Noticed he was up and just shot him a quick smirk. Looked like he was ready to get moving, so motioned for them to go check out the first floor together. Down on the first floor, a bunch of guys crowded up, all eyes on this huge weird purple slime just chilling in front of the exit. Nobody really knew what it was, but it was clear that thing wasn't letting anyone out. Everyone was stuck just staring at it, trying to figure out what to do next. The blue-haired kid swung hard, dropping a punch with everything he had. He hit BEM, but honestly it barely did anything. Moved up, ready to take charge. He lifted his axe, making it clear he wasn't messing around and wanted everyone out of his way. The purple slime popped and nasty goo went everywhere, covering the floor with this gross, stinky mess. Heavy drops, stained deep red, rolled out one by one, catching the light as it blinked above. The red spheres started to move around. It looked like something inside was trying to break out. The blue-haired boy freaked out and sprinted straight for the door. He tried to open the thing, but the latch wouldn't move at all. He pulled harder, but it just stayed stuck, not going anywhere. Nearby, a couple of guys crouched down, messing with the weird balls just to see what would happen. They couldn't help themselves, they had to check it out. The chubby boy let out an awkward laugh, unsure of what he was even looking at. In his head, he wondered if someone had left a huge soccer ball from school just lying around. Out of nowhere, the blue-haired kid got the door open with a quick move. The door swung open, he called out, ready to dip. Time to get out fast. Glanced up, eyes wide, totally caught off guard. He just stood there, totally missing the shadow outside. Instead of playing it smart, he reached for the stuff he definitely shouldn't touch. Someone needed to get him moving before things got weird. He swung the door open fast. Something weird and messed up started forcing its way in. Everyone rushed to shut the door, but chaos broke out as people started yelling. The blue-haired boy pushed the door closed as hard as he could, making sure it was totally locked in. The creature's head and claws got stuck in the gap. The thing started twisting all over, its face changing shape like it was melting right in front of him. People took off in every direction, trying to get out fast. The blue-haired boy just stood there by the door, totally frozen, shaking so much he couldn't even step forward. Something weird started happening. 2 long tubes slid out from the creature's mouth, moving real slow. Out of nowhere, it launched a thick blast of purple goo right at the blue-haired kid. Stepped up fast, warning everyone to stay away and not let whatever it was get close. He realized he was already out of time. Rushed ahead, axe in hand, ready to swing. The blade slammed straight into the creature's head, landing deep. He actually landed it. Someone in the back couldn't help but let out a gasp. He couldn't believe it. Black, greasy liquid started sliding down the handle of the axe that was stuck in place. The monster's tendrils snaked around the axe, and those twin tubes started blasting out purple liquid again. Dodged out of the way right before it was too late. He knew that punch should finished it, but somehow it was still standing. The creature just turned into a puddle and slid right through the doorway, with the axe still chilling in its head. The thing snapped the weapon out and started moving in on the blue-haired kid. He backed away, tears rolling down his face, trying to make it clear he didn't do anything. He really didn't want anyone coming closer, just wanting them to chase the real ones who caused all this. The monster stayed quiet, not making a sound. Its tubes stretched out again, ready for whatever was coming next. His neck got squeezed hard. He yanked hard, not holding back at all. The creature's stomach ripped open and sucked him right in, swallowing him in one move. He shifted around a bit, kinda restless. He coughed up blood, clothes ripped up and shredded. And the chubby kid are down low, staying hidden and waiting for the perfect moment to make their move. The chubby kid leaned in and wondered if they could really handle that thing. The rest of the students totally lost it and took off in every direction, trying to get out of there as fast as they could. The creature turned its eyes to a girl who looked totally scared. Both of its tubes slid out again, looking thick and dripping wet. They splashed some weird purple stuff all over the ground, and the bigger kid started yelling, trying to get everyone's attention, basically daring them to come after them. She noticed her foot and called the guy out for being a creep. The chubby kid just started shouting. The creature didn't even glance at them. All its focus was on the girl. It tried to move forward but got jammed in the doorway and couldn't get through. The girl started crying, hoping someone would show up and help her out. She really didn't want whatever was about to happen. Picked up a chair and just launched it as hard as he could. The shot hit the creature right in the head, dropping it instantly. Part of its skull just split open with a nasty, wet sound. It didn't even react. The tube snapped out fast and wrapped tight around the girl. Made it clear he was the one they were after and wasn't backing down. He picked the chair back up. Another hit came out of nowhere, almost flattening its face. She was already halfway gone, with the monster pulling her in fast. Yi and the chubby kid rushed in, grabbing anything within reach and just started smashing stuff. The sound of metal hitting metal echoed through the air. Spotted his chance, grabbed his axe off the ground, and went straight for the creature's stomach with a heavy swing. The gut burst open and suddenly a bloody arm slid right out. Yelled for someone to pull her out right away. He just wouldn't stop hacking, going at it nonstop. After landing a couple of solid hits, the creature's head just dropped to the ground. The chubby boy finally pulled the shaking girl out from the wreckage. The creature wasn't finished yet. It shot out 2 tubes and locked them around this chubby kid. Gripped his axe tight and took a hard swing, cutting them all down in one go. He totally lost it. He just kept throwing punches nonstop. The monster's skin ripped open, and its bones snapped every time it got hit. Even after all that, the thing still came for him, the leftover pieces grabbing onto and trying to pull him in. You saw her rush over, grabbing a bottle of alcohol and handing it to him. She wanted him to use it and set the thing on fire. She dumped out the drink, jammed a rag in the bottle and set it on fire, just straight up made a Molotov right there. She launched it right at the creature, not hesitating for a second. Fire burst out, covering the monster until you couldn't even see it anymore. Told Fatty to tear it open. Working together, they ripped the opening bigger so could toss in the rest. She told everyone to stay back so they wouldn't get hurt, warning them before things got intense. Out of nowhere, a bag packed with lit bottles came flying and blew up right in the middle of its stomach. Fire suddenly shot out and completely burned up the whole body. Even after getting completely torched, the body kept moving a little. It kept moving, just stared, caught off guard. He wasn't holding back now. He started swinging down with some real force, chopping over and over without stopping. He went at it, hitting the ground 40 times with this small hammer. Then he switched it up, dropping 80 heavy hits that just echoed, each one louder than the last. The ground couldn't handle it. Cracks started showing up where he was smashing. All three of them just looked at the wreck in front of them, trying to process what they were seeing. The chubby boy was out of breath, still staring at the monster. Even without its head, that thing just wouldn't quit. If the fire hadn't been there, they'd be toast for sure. In the end, they finally managed to cook that thing for good. The girl they just saved started hacking like crazy, barely able to catch her breath. Her arms were basically trash just to help him out, and everyone was wondering if he was alright after all that. The girl shook as she pressed herself against the wall. The chubby boy just stood there with a big grin, looking pretty pleased with himself. He told her not to stress about the hospital bill, he'd take care of it. What he really wanted was for her to just marry him. Out of nowhere, the girl they just saved snapped her head around. Her eyes lit up with this wild red glow, and veins popped out all over her skin as she rushed straight at the chubby boy. She dragged her nails hard across his chest, leaving 3 deep, bleeding marks. She stood back, her voice rough as she warned him to stay away. Her body started to shake a little. Under her breath, she quietly said he couldn't do that. She jumped straight up and landed on the second floor like it was nothing. She disappeared up into the ceiling, sliding right into the rafters like it was nothing. Up above, she was chilling in the ceiling, just watching them. The chubby boy looked up, kind of on edge, wondering if she was about to drop down and catch them off guard. Answered back, earlier she took off running instead of going after anyone. Maybe she's not completely changed yet, there's still some human in her. Agreed, thinking that's possible. She probably hid because she didn't want to mess anyone up. He wondered if there was any alcohol left and grabbed 2 bottles just in case. If she showed up, he planned to just toss them over and say they'd already used everything. He remembered there was more in the chemistry lab upstairs and decided to head up there, thinking he should also bring something to protect themselves. Right then, that red fleshy monster showed up in the hallway again. They already left, but now they're here again. Out of nowhere, someone starts yelling. Crouched down and kept staring at the orb. He couldn't help but wonder if someone was actually stuck inside one of those things. He blocked the chubby kid, signaling him to stay back. Something was definitely off with that guy. Gripped his axe tight and took a solid swing at the orb. Suddenly the shell cracked open and this huge emptiness just poured out. The shell got ripped open when a sharp barb stabbed right through it. From the gap, a worm covered in teeth started squirming out. Suddenly, a bunch of worms burst out everywhere. The swarm closed in fast on and his crew. People started running. There were way too many coming at them, and everyone knew they couldn't fight back. Panic set in as someone in the crowd just lost it and screamed. Pulled a full bucket of alcohol out of the lab and started worrying about the others. She really didn't want anything bad to happen to them. So she got to work, throwing together a quick weapon with whatever she could find. She saw a mop nearby and decided to dunk it in alcohol, planning to light it up and use it like a fire weapon. Between that and the bottle, it seemed like enough. Time was ticking, so she needed to get going fast. Out of nowhere, tons of worms just started crawling out into the hallway. Bugs were everywhere out of nowhere, and the chubby boy totally lost it. Yi and his buddy were stuck, nowhere to run. Suddenly, the chubby kid freaked out, something just bit him. He realized he was in the same boat. Somehow, one of those things ended up crawling right into his pants. Upstairs, dipped the mop into some alcohol, getting it ready to use. He set it off and the whole place lit up. He sprinted down the hallway, torch mop in hand, and just started swinging at the crawling swarm. The air was packed with the sound of popping and the scent of meat cooking over fire. When she spotted and the chubby kid still breathing, she finally relaxed. She didn't waste any time and just burned down the whole swarm. Both of them dropped down, holding onto their groins. Walked in right then, perfect timing. She looked around, trying to figure out what went down and why there were so many bugs everywhere. Was still shaking, barely able to answer. He pointed out that all those bugs came from the red orbs while was upstairs. Maybe there's some boss-level queen or mother thing behind all this. Those weird orbs could be where it all starts. So what's next? Still going to the supermarket? Nobody really knows. But one thing's clear, all the crazy stuff so far links back to that black water. Half an hour before, at the campus market, black water started dripping from the ceiling. Everyone was glued to their phones when the school alert came through. The message told everyone to stay put inside the main building. He couldn't believe it, mutants showing up at school, that was wild. Someone looked up at the ceiling, trying to figure out what was going on up there. He realized the black stuff was actually moving around on its own. He remembered seeing stuff like this in movies, where some creature could just turn into whatever it wanted. The liquid started moving all over the place, like it just lost control. Right in front of them, it started changing, turning into these red, fleshy balls. A red-haired kid pulled out his utility knife, looking at everyone like they were overreacting. He clearly thought the others were being too soft about the slime balls and wanted to show off. He was ready to take the lead and prove he wasn't scared, totally confident he could handle the situation. He cut one open. Out of nowhere, a worm popped out, all hyped up. The big ones aimed straight for the head. He used the tiny ones for his legs. The market just blew up into complete chaos. People started yelling, some got hurt, and things got wild fast. A few moments after, there were just bodies lying all over the floor. Somewhere else, Yi and his crew were busy burning up the last of the bugs. Wondered if they were still going to the store since the weird red orbs showed up from that way. Nobody really knew what else could be waiting for them over there. Let them know they were good for the moment, but they couldn't waste time. He told them to check for anyone still around and then lock down a spot to crash for a bit. He reminded Fatty to use the same teamwork they had in games and told to grab something to spray alcohol. Then they broke off in different directions. Headed for the second floor exit, knowing he could see everything happening below from there. If things got wild, he could dip upstairs or downstairs, keeping his options open. Fatty headed up to the third floor, keeping watch on her like he was on lookout duty. He decided to check out the first floor. After grabbing some food and water from the market, he planned to head upstairs to meet up. He set the stairwell on fire, making sure nothing could get through from below. He told the others to keep an eye out and let him know if anything popped off. Right now, the second floor hallway's all clear. Up on the third floor, there's no sign of any mutants either. Out of nowhere, a door slowly swung open. Watch the fire take over the lobby. He just torched the sofas himself, hoping it would slow everyone down for a bit. Getting up those stairs later is gonna be a total pain. Two students checked outside their classroom, making sure everything looked clear. It seemed like someone had already taken out those mutants, so they figured it was time to move. But when they spotted the stairs, flames were everywhere. Getting out wasn't going to be easy. He rushed to grab the extinguisher, not wasting a second. Out of nowhere, a drop of black water landed right on top of the kid's head. He spun around, his face was already serious, like he was ready for whatever was coming. The boy with purple hair froze up, totally thrown off. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. This guy was actually changing right in front of him. The boy ran his hand across his face. He didn't get why his friend was so stressed. Come on, it was only rain. Meanwhile, his buddy looked like he was about to lose it over a couple drops. They decided to put out the fire and just chill until someone came to save them. Suddenly, the kid's face changed, and his arm started bending weirdly, his skin going all black. He grabbed the kid with purple hair and picked him up like he weighed nothing. His hand started changing, splitting apart, and just straight up ate another student whole. His arm started to bulk up, veins popping out and getting more intense. He had no clue that was chilling in the corner, watching everything go down. Reached into his pocket and pulled out a couple of keys. He held them tight between his fingers, almost like they were sharp weapons. He charged in just as the monster spun around, and they both attacked at the exact same moment. Moved quick, dodging to the side and driving his blade straight into the guy's eye. There was a wet, gross pop as the eyeball burst, and thick goo started leaking out of the empty socket. Moved fast, slipping behind the mutant, and bringing his axe down hard at the back of its head. The hit landed with a loud clang and the skull cracked wide open. Weird purple egg-looking things started spilling out and it looked straight up bizarre. He looked at it and his stomach twisted up. He tried to ignore how sick he felt, lifted the axe again and chopped off one of its legs. It didn't take long for it to tear the creature apart. He threw the pieces straight into the fire and the sound of burning echoed around him. The nasty smell hit instantly, making him cringe. The flames ended up going wild, burning the mutant down until there was basically nothing left but ash. He couldn't stand it anymore, so he just turned around and bounced. Out of nowhere, a burnt-looking arm just reached out from the fire. The thing stuck itself to the wall and started pulling itself up. He ripped right through the ceiling and vanished up there. Was heading down the hallway when he caught some quiet sounds coming from above him. His eyes went wide. He couldn't believe that thing was still around. He looked down and saw gross, slimy marks smeared all over the wall and floor. The noise faded as it moved closer to the campus market. He went after them and ended up at the old Rex shop. Bodies were scattered everywhere, none of them whole. Some were missing organs, others had their insides completely gutted. He heard someone coming from behind the metal door, so he quickly moved to the side to stay out of sight. The iron door flew open with a loud bang. He just couldn't let it slide, he had to stand his ground. This year, the guy noticed something off. Teachers didn't hand out the usual envelopes. Harvest season just kept getting worse for him, and it really showed. Teacher was out here acting like rules didn't matter. Teacher got the envelopes and moved fast. He started mumbling, barely making sense, while his body twisted up. His skull stretched out, turning into this wild, spiky shape. Just stood there, legs shaking so bad it looked like he might lose it right there. He slowly lifted the axe, totally confused. He couldn't tell if the guy was talking to someone else or just losing his mind. At this point, couldn't even figure out if the dude had mutated or just snapped. Out of nowhere, the mutant principal shot out a tentacle covered in spikes, throwing one arm right at Dijon. The whip-like limb zipped right by his head, barely missing him. For a second, it felt like his head almost got taken clean off. The monster pulled its tendril back, saw his shot and didn't hesitate. He rushed in, axe ready, aiming straight for the creature's head. The principal's head suddenly shifted, turning into a giant claw that snapped down and trapped the blade. Every year it kept mumbling to itself, noticing there were less and less envelopes showing up. Out of nowhere it snapped and went at him, was quick and dropped down just in time. Out of nowhere, the iron door behind him broke apart with a loud crash. He took off down the aisle, picking up speed and leaving everyone behind. It stretched out and blocked the way out on purpose. He couldn't figure out why, since it easily could have finished him off. Instead, it just let him go. The monster's arms started getting way bigger. The fog just kept getting heavier. Both limbs snapped shut, locking him in so he couldn't move at all. He reached for a bottle of liquor from the shelf, thinking he needed something to hype himself up. Without hesitating, he downed it, hoping it'd give him that push. Nobody knew what that thing would do next if its arms could already change like that. It had everyone on edge, wondering what kind of wild move was coming. He knew he couldn't just run straight at it. First, he had to grab some gear. He tried the chocolate and realized it was actually really smooth. Honestly, not bad at all. He noticed a girl's body lying next to the rack. She was already gone before he even showed up. Her body looked messed up, like someone had taken parts of her. Even with all that, she still looked pretty. He couldn't help but think maybe he's been single way too long. Something creaked in the next aisle, tightened his hold on the axe on edge. He wondered if another one was out there. How many people had actually died in this place? Out of nowhere, the bodies near him started to jerk, then straight up got up and began moving around. He glanced down and spotted a backpack just lying there on the floor. He grabbed it and took off right away, not even looking inside. He swung sideways and knocked a little mutant straight into the air. The principal caught sight of him again. His eyes started to lose focus, and everything around him twisted like he was seeing things that weren't really there. He spotted a bunch of students throwing hands out in the courtyard. The principal's voice just kept bouncing around in his head during the dream. He was talking about fighting again, saying that if he had a gun, he'd take them all out. The monster lifted its huge arms and started launching spikes that shot out like bullets. They came flying one after another, each impact echoing through the air. This was the moment. The mutant principal finally caught up and locked his arm tight around the boy's head. The kid tried hard to break free, using every bit of strength, but the principal's hold just wouldn't let go. The mutant grabbed him by the head and just yanked him right off the ground like it was nothing. Right when everything was on the line, the principal's mind flashed back to when the kid clowned on him in front of everyone at school. That memory made his anger spike, and he just couldn't let it go. He let go, and the kid dropped straight to the floor with a loud thud. He got up, blood running down from his head. He stumbled a bit, then bent down to grab the axe off the ground. Out of nowhere, the mutant reached out and caught his calf. He got slammed hard into the side wall, like someone just launched him full speed. He got smacked in the head again, way harder this time. Dropping to his knees, he started coughing up blood. He wasn't letting go that easy. He pushed himself up and went all in, smashing the axe down as hard as he could. He swung again and again, but the blade just couldn't touch the creature. The monster went wild, launching spikes everywhere like it was trying to fill the whole place with them. The axe broke apart right in his grip. His arms, shoulders, thighs, and shins were all full of holes. The creature leaned down and grabbed the busted axe off the ground. He swung it straight down, landing it right on top of his head. His skull just blew apart, spraying blood and pieces of bone all over the place. Everything was pitch black when a strange voice started talking to him. He felt his breath catch, not sure what was going on or who was even there. The voice kept pushing, demanding that just hand over his body or else things would get ugly. He didn't really get how that was supposed to work, but the last thing he wanted was to lose control. Even so, he realized he might not have a choice. Out of nowhere, his face, still smeared with blood, broke into a grin. He realized he could move his body again. Another voice popped up in his head. It reminded that both of his hands had been stabbed straight through by bone spikes. If the voice hadn't stepped in, he would have been full of holes, done for. He took a second to check himself out, counting all the spots where he'd almost gotten wrecked. Yanked off his shirt. The steel plates he grabbed from the supermarket actually did their job, but everywhere else on his body took a beating. If he hadn't covered up, he probably wouldn't have made it out. The mutant principal launched more bone spikes, sending them flying across the room. The ball rocketed straight for his face, but then this weird purple liquid started seeping out of his skin, basically stopping whatever was about to hit him. Not long after, his body got covered in this shiny layer, and even more of that purple stuff started leaking out. He just reached out and snagged a spike right between his fingers, no sweat. Both arms launched 437 spikes. He got nailed by 139 of them, the rest just slammed into the walls. With his hearing already gone, now he had to worry about his sight. The horn on his head was stuck shut so it couldn't shield his eyes anymore. It was about to get real bad. He disappeared before anyone could even react. He grabbed the creature by its huge eye and let out a deep growl. Right after he fired, his arm started to go numb for a solid 10 seconds. His grip tightened, then just like that, the eyeball popped. The mutant principal let out a wild scream and started swinging its arms all over the place. That weird purple liquid on his hand just sank right into his skin. His cuts healed up super fast. That voice in his head came back, letting him know it had fixed him up. It explained that's why he had asked about the black water, because he didn't use it. Instead, the voice had burned through his own life force and energy to patch him up. The voice said it was about to dip and he'd be back in control. He still had to wrap things up himself, but whatever was coming next wasn't going to be easy on him. He got slammed with pain all at once. He realized this is what happens when you push life way past its limits. His whole body went wild with pain, like his insides were getting shredded. He couldn't stop shaking. He clenched his jaws, snatched up the busted axe, and just went for it, putting all his strength into that swing. The first horn broke apart. Then the second one hit. He realized it was way too tough to handle, so he just decided to tear it off on his own. Dropped to the ground, and right then, the mutant principal's body started shrinking fast. He realized it was finally done. He stuck frozen from the backlash. It's honestly brutal, way worse than anything he's ever felt. His whole body's locked up, and all he can focus on is the pain, just nonstop. Stared, barely believing what he was seeing. The creature's heart kept pounding steady and loud. It was definitely still alive. Out of nowhere, the thing just took off its own head and shoved it right back into its body like it was no big deal. Just stopped in his tracks, eyes wide, totally not believing what he was seeing. He pushes himself to his feet. Suddenly, a tentacle shot out and wrapped tight around his wrist. He tried everything he could, pushing himself hard to get out of the situation. The slimy tendrils slid up and coiled all over him, locking him down tight. The monster without a head got back up. He realized the thing wasn't gone, it was actually pulling him in. He couldn't move at all, just stuck there, not sure what to even try next. The creature suddenly pulled his head in tight against its own neck, almost like it was trying to mash them into one. Snapped, wanting out right then. Out of nowhere, the monster let go of him. The cells started shrinking and just stopped working, dropping out one by one. Its whole body started shaking hard, and it just kept going until it totally collapsed. Was on the ground, completely out of breath, trying to figure out what just went down. In that moment, his mind just shut off. It was like everything just stopped and he couldn't think at all. He stared at the body, not really sure what to do next. A tentacle suddenly grabbed his neck again, catching him off guard. He tried to catch his breath, totally lost. His mind just went blank. He couldn't remember anything. Out of nowhere, something wild shot out from deep inside him and slammed right into the monster. The tentacles snapped back right away. The creature shook as it dragged itself over to the vent. He jumped up real quick and just disappeared inside. He watched it shoot up, totally confused. His brain just blanked out like he couldn't think of anything. He couldn't remember anything that just happened. His memory was totally wiped, like someone hit reset in his brain. He used to be stuck, completely unable to move. The guy had tied him up tight. Right when things were about to get real bad with the dude ready to eat him alive, his brain just locked in on one thing: let me go. Out of nowhere, the guy let him go. After that, everything just went dark, like his mind totally shut off. Then it happened again. The dude grabbed his throat and he started choking, barely able to breathe. But his mind snapped back, pushed out the same force, and the guy dropped him again before disappearing up into the ceiling. Right after he let loose that mental blast, he blacked out twice. Maybe that's why he backed off. He started thinking, was it possible to control mutants just by thinking about it? Maybe it was just random. Back to back though, that just doesn't add up. He thought that if he could actually control these guys, running the whole campus would be easy. That's when realized his backpack was missing, and the 3 boxes of water had disappeared too. He booked it back, checking every corner and spot he could think of. The way upstairs was totally blocked off, so getting to the next level wasn't happening. None of the supplies were up there anyway. That meant everything they needed had to be somewhere on the first floor. There were voices coming from one of the rooms. People realized it was all clear, so everyone started heading out. Walked in, back to the place where he'd thrown down with the principal before. The survivors showed up and just grabbed his stuff. He realized he wasn't the last one left down here. He heard voices coming from the bathroom. That's where they were hiding out. From inside, it felt like they owned the place now. That dude had nothing left in him. The 2 tigers went at it, both showing off their strength. The fisherman prophets watched from the side, kind of amused by the whole thing. They decided this spot was theirs now, ready to run things. The mutants around here really didn't mess with fire, and these guys had enough gas and gear to keep themselves safe. One kid had already handled a couple mutants by himself, but there were way more of them together, so confidence was high. moved up, locking his eyes on the dude with the curly hair. The guy shot a nasty glare, basically telling everyone to back off and mind their own business. Locked eyes on the guy and figured this was the perfect chance to see if he could control people, not just animals. The guy yanked by the collar, looking like he was about to throw hands. Suddenly let out a wave of energy. He reached down and grabbed the axe. He set his hand down on the table. The hand just sliced it right off. He went for it and tore right into the mouth. The blade cut through the air, slicing fast. Blood flew everywhere. The guy's mouth just opened up, stretching all the way to his ears. His knees started shaking. Screams suddenly came out of the bathroom, was in there, freaking out after he'd actually cut off his own hand, and his mouth just hung open, like he couldn't believe what he'd done. He could tell something was seriously off. Stepping outside just wasn't an option right now. Just stood there not moving at all. He couldn't process what he'd just seen. Did that guy really just cut himself? Or was it his mouth? None of it made sense. His thoughts just zoned out, totally blank. He just stood there, totally clueless. His hands were so numb, he couldn't even feel his mouth. He started wondering why he even did that in the first place. Out of nowhere, his eyes lit up bright red. The pain hit hard, like seriously bad. He just pushed through and decided whatever, this building's his now. He charged down the hallway, not slowing down for anything. Reached out and put his hand on his own shoulder, making it clear he was the one they should focus on. The guy paused and looked back. Straight up launched a hard kick right at his face. He dropped straight to the ground, way quicker than he expected. His head didn't budge at all, it was solid, like nothing could break it. Ripped a water pipe straight out of the wall. After he mutated, his brain power tanked. Now he's just standing there, not even trying to come at me. Just stopped in his tracks, frozen. Meanwhile, Curly tore right through the barrier on the second floor, basically daring him to make a move and try to get up there. Called out and made it clear that Curly should focus on him. At the broken stairs, a policewoman shouted for the students to get out of there and not come closer. The students just took off running. She gave a heads up, the people trying to save him just got jumped. Now they're on the verge of turning into something else. Froze for a second, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. The SWAT guys had changed too. He kept thinking about how clutch it would be if he could just grab their weapons and gear. After the mutation, just couldn't help himself. He started taking over more minds like he was on a mission. Figured he'd just let Curly and that new mutant with the giant head fight it out. He couldn't really tell what the SWAT mutant squad was planning. The policewoman was still human, so she probably had her own way out and guessed she might not even be on their side. Out of nowhere, the big head doll jumped Curly. Curly raised his axe and went straight for its head. The doll pulled its head back in, barely leaving a scratch and coming out totally fine. It shot up. He took a bite and the Curly part snapped right off. Curly's arm just got ripped apart, a massive piece straight up gone in an instant. Curly's other arm suddenly turned into a massive hammer, and he started swinging it at the giant-headed doll. The hammer crashed down and hit the floor hard. The monster's body was solid, like nothing could hurt it. It got low, building up energy. He slammed into Curly's stomach, tearing it open. It jumped right in front of him. He started digging around inside his own chest, searching for something. A few seconds later, it reached in and yanked out something that looked just like a heart. He jammed it straight into its mouth. He pushed off and took off running. Once it was gone, grabbed some alcohol and poured it all over Curly's body. Even though Curly was dead, his body could still merge with other things, so knew he had to burn it right away. In his head, a warning popped up, telling him not to try to control mutants again or he'd risk losing his memory for good. Those first two just sat back and didn't do much. He kind of mumbled under his breath. Out of nowhere, a SWAT mutant got up. Electricity shot through him, buzzing all over his body. The arc hit the policewoman and her body jerked back hard. She clenched her jaw and jumped down from the second floor, not even hesitating. She had to grab Dijon and get out fast. Someone was actually trying to take her out. One of the SWAT mutants reached for a grenade. The policewoman moved fast and wrapped Yi up in a tight hug. He jumped sideways, landing in the hallway. The wall just blew apart, pieces flying everywhere. A bunch of mutants stormed inside all at once. She looked around, thinking she needed to get out of there, somewhere open where nothing was boxed in over her head. She needed a spot to lay low, away from everything. There's no ceiling in the first floor restroom. They rushed inside and ducked into one of the stalls. Out of nowhere, the policewoman took off her jacket and signaled for to follow her lead. She grabbed their clothes and set them up around the area, hoping the mutants would think people were there and fall right into her trap. Swallowed hard when she got right up next to him. A mutant SWAT officer stepped in. He caught some quiet sounds and started moving slowly toward the stalls, careful not to make a noise. Leaned in close and quietly pointed out two targets. The plan was simple. Once they dropped the first guy, he'd slip off to the right while the other person dipped left, both ready to handle the second one. He showed up. The mutant stormed in and busted open two bathroom stalls. There's still one door that hasn't opened yet. He let Bang rip right through the door. He stepped up and just booted the door wide open. Out of nowhere, a belt tightened around his neck and yanked him off the ground. At the same time, a baton pressed against him and sent a jolt through his body. His body shook hard, then he just went still, not moving at all. The noise brought in another mutant, just as suddenly rushed out from the next stall. He just froze right there. He wrapped it up by going in with an axe. picked up 2 guns and kept moving. The policewoman cut open the bodies. She checked and saw there weren't any worms. It was just that black liquid. His eyebrows pulled together. He realized there had to be more than one thing that could set off a mutation. He grabbed whatever gear looked good, then torched the bodies. The policewoman grabbed her little notebook, doing the whole name please routine. Knew it was just part of the drill, didn't really matter, but rules are rules. He went with her, opening each stall one by one. She needed to make sure nobody else in there was still alive. Took out his gun and checked every stall, making sure each one was empty as he moved down the line. Out of nowhere, the policewoman started yelling, pointing at something behind the partition like she just spotted something wild. Sprinted over and just stopped in his tracks. He recognized that thing. It's the same one he spotted down in the underground parking lot before. He noticed that somebody was in there. Earlier, when he was at this spot, he picked up on voices coming from inside. It was definitely more than just one person in there. Inside, someone's voice was shaky, barely holding it together. He begged for his life, saying he wasn't stepping outside. Took a swing with his axe and cracked the shell wide open. Inside, the person just kept mumbling the same thing over and over, begging not to be killed, and saying there was no way they were stepping outside. Could tell the guy was totally out, just gone. The only thing left was that last bit of fear hanging around. The policewoman jotted something down while standing there. 3 mutants couldn't move at all in the men's bathroom. The same words kept echoing, "Don't kill me, I'm not leaving." Called her over, saying there was another mutant that seemed off compared to the rest. His head is straight up in the toilet. The policewoman came over and spotted a lesson plan next to him. Turns out he was a teacher and kept saying Miss' name under his breath. Snapped his fingers. He remembered now that was Mr. Inside the girls' bathroom, someone kept repeating Miss' name, their voice barely above a whisper. Ms. walked in, wanting to know who was trying to get her attention. That noise wasn't coming from outside. It was actually coming up from the drain underneath him. While all this was happening, the policewoman kept her phone out, filming everything. She noticed some weird mutation stuff going on. His neck had stretched way out and somehow his head was shoved inside the toilet. Nobody really knew what was causing it. The guy kept repeating the name Miss. The policewoman wanted to know why he'd even do something like that or who this girl was. Answered her he'd been crushing on Miss the whole time but kept it to himself. Ms. stared at the toilet, totally freaked out. Out of nowhere, 2 eyes popped up from the bowl, staring right at her and repeating her name over and over. She took off running, yelling like she'd just seen a ghost. Meanwhile, the poop basically powered him up inside, like his whole vibe just leveled up. Wherever she moved, those eyes followed her. Thick, fleshy strands curled around her legs and held her in place. Out of nowhere, Mr. Ma's head popped up from the drain. She froze for a second, totally caught off guard by how Mr. Ma looked. He suddenly leaned in, almost growling out how much he cared. He realized he was totally into Ms. Back in the men's room, just lost it. He couldn't write another word. Something was definitely off with him. Dozens of eyes popped out all over the mutant's body. Right away, they started shooting. Fired off every round in his clip while the policewoman jumped in, ready to take control. He wanted to keep that guy from mutating again. The dude's body was gone, but his head was just chilling in the pipe. He figured he'd check out the lady's room next since the drains were connected. If he didn't hear anything from her side, he'd just stay where he was and wait. After she walked out, let out a long sigh, finally able to chill for a second. Out of nowhere, the policewoman looked back over her shoulder. Jumped back, nearly crashing his hips into the wall. She turned bright red and quickly turned her back, not wanting anyone to see her face. She tried to play it cool, but a small smile gave her away when her heart did a little jump. The policewoman swung the restroom door open and just stopped in her tracks. Over in the corner, there was this massive lump of flesh, like nothing she'd ever seen before. She stared, trying to figure out if she was really seeing someone, or if her mind was just playing tricks on her. Out of nowhere, she really had to pee. With all the chaos happening, she rushed to the door, hoping to handle it fast. While started stressing that something could be wrong, he made a beeline straight for the women's restroom. The officer barely had time to breathe when this nasty eyeball creature slid out and wrapped its tentacles tight around her neck. She didn't even have a second to fix her clothes. She just called out for, hoping he'd hear her. Heard her scream and didn't even think. He just kicked the door open. For a quick second, her shorts dropped while she was up in the air. He figured she must be pulling off some wild stretch move or something. He rushed over and yanked her legs down, thinking she was just messing around with some yoga moves. He had no clue the creature's tendrils were tight around her neck, making it hard for her to breathe. He pulled her out at last. Out of nowhere, a mutant that looked straight up like a monkey jumped out from behind and slashed you right in the stomach with its claws. The policewoman woke up, spotted his injury, and quickly moved to help him stay on his feet. The eyeball monster jumped out from the stall again, coming right at him. Reached out and pulled it close, locking his arm around it. He jabbed the stun baton right into its side, and sparks flew everywhere. The monkey mutant jumped straight at, sinking its teeth right into his head. Was hanging by a thread, and suddenly his mind just snapped with this wild burst of psychic power. He took in all the energy from both both monsters in a split second. He could straight up make people go against each other just by thinking hard enough. Checked in with whatever was living inside him. He let it take over for a bit, making sure everyone else got somewhere safe. He wanted it to move the food and water stash up to the second floor too. At the same time, he wanted answers, like how to control the mutants whenever he wanted, and how to fix up his body without totally wrecking himself. The voice answered without any stress, telling him to look for the mother core. In its own head, it was pretty hyped, knowing it could stay in control of the body way longer this time. That was a big upgrade. Totally not himself, got up and gave the squirming chunk of flesh to the policewoman. He picked up Wei, who was totally out cold, and carried her on his back. The moment he walked into the hallway, a loud sound bounced around. Not wasting any time, he handed Wei off to the officer to keep him safe. He moved up, taking down a bunch of zombies with his sword like it was nothing. He spotted a survivor who had totally passed out from fear and managed to get him out of there. A few seconds later, he just picked up a whole shelf packed with supplies all by himself. The policewoman just stood there totally frozen. She couldn't believe how insane his skills were. Totally possessed, dragged the entire supermarket right into the school. When the officer saw all the chocolates and ice cream everywhere, her eyes went wide and she almost started drooling. Glanced at her, letting her know to look after the people who made it out. He headed upstairs to see what was going on. The two people they saved were still pretty shaken up and hadn't really snapped out of it yet. Ms. pulled her knees in close, her whole body shaking. The other staff member's eyes went wide, barely whispering under his breath, "Yeah, it was the mother core." He dropped to the ground one more time. Shot a cold glance. Hearing Mother Core sounded important, so he figured he'd haul the supplies upstairs before grilling the guy later. The stairs going up were totally blocked off by this thick purple stuff. Clenched his jaw, grabbed it, and just ripped the thing apart using pure muscle. Inside, the missing principal was right there. That night, he ended up fully connected to that same monster arm hanging from the ceiling. Told the policewoman to keep her distance and just watch what was about to go down. Out of nowhere, the principal's twisted arm launched straight at the possessed, snapping forward fast like some kind of human spear. Stepped up and stopped it right away, dropping it with just one punch. The creature's huge arm blew apart, sending pieces everywhere. He blinked, caught off guard. The principal's second fusion form turned out way weaker than he thought it would be. The arm just kept moving, looping around him while this weird purple liquid started to pour out. Out in the distance, the principal suddenly dropped to the ground. His body started breaking down, turning into this weird puddle of goo. Back then, the arm could just shoot weak patch shots, nothing more. After the second mutation, the principal unlocked a wild new move. He could turn his whole body into liquid and then snap back into sharp spikes. One of those spikes went right through. Instead of hurting him, that liquid energy just got pulled straight into his body. Launched himself forward, nailing the fluid mass with a solid kick. Right then, the principal snapped back to looking human again. Two heavy punches landed straight on. The principal couldn't do anything, he was totally stuck. He dropped to the floor, his body jerking hard while steam started pouring off his skin. Shot a quick look at the policewoman behind him. He signaled for her to toss over one of those mutant hearts, planning to let the guy eat it. Wanted the dude powered up, not holding back. He knew this guy still hadn't gone all out yet. A mutant heart, still beating, dragged itself along the ground and shoved itself straight into the principal's mouth. His eyes lit up bright red when he stood back up, and his arms just started bulking up, getting huge like some monster. He lost it and started swinging at everything, smashing anything nearby like he couldn't even control himself. Bounced off the walls, eyes locked on the spot right above the principal. He locked in, then dropped a hard kick straight down. The principal hit the ground hard. He bounced right back up like nothing happened, thanks to his crazy tough body. His huge arm swung right at again, moving fast like he was really trying to end things. Came in with one solid kick and broke the guy's arm all the way through. After checking out how strong the principal really was, let out a cold breath. He thought this guy was pretty much a waste of time. Taken over by something dark, just shoved his hand out and snatched the principal's heart right from his chest. He pressed the stun baton right up against it and went for it. The principal couldn't fight anymore, but he was still alive. The policewoman, busy with her research, cranked the electric output all the way up. The nasty smell of burnt skin hung in the room. She paused for a sec and jotted down what she saw. When the voltage maxed out, the subject wouldn't stop twitching. After the second fusion, its body could straight up melt. Just ignored everything and headed straight upstairs like nothing else mattered. There was still one creature hanging around, a purple gooey blob just sitting in the middle of the hallway blocking the path. He ripped it up using just his hands. Out of nowhere, this huge monster, like 3 meters tall, just exploded onto the scene and started throwing these wild punches. Moved quick and slipped out of the way. He grabbed the next punch with one hand, barely breaking a sweat. Guy had some serious muscle, but it wasn't anything he couldn't handle. He grabbed its arm and turned it hard. He threw a hard punch right into its stomach. No matter how many times he went at it, his hits just bounced off. He couldn't get through its body at all. The giant monster moved fast and grabbed his arm, locking him in place. He grabbed him and smashed him straight into the floor. Wasn't going down that easy. Right before the monster's fist could hit him, he just jumped back up like nothing happened. He locked his legs tight around its head and cranked hard. The monster dropped to the ground, totally done for. Slammed another stun gun into the creature's side. Now he was able to keep pulling power from it non-stop and handle both mutants at the same time. With the electrodes still running through their hearts, they were basically harmless. If things ever got risky, he could just cut the power, and then they'd turn on the other mutants to get their energy back. Time was almost up for the possession. He let the officer know to wait downstairs and be ready to crank the voltage all the way if things got out of hand. Suddenly, a voice just popped into his head. It was the other talking. From now on, humans couldn't take out mutants anymore. The dark gel basically unlocked endless upgrades, and now only mutants could actually beat each other. His time was up. From that moment, he was the one in control. Just stopped in his tracks. He finally figured out that Black Rain wasn't just some random thing. It actually had a name, Dark Gel. Turns out the gel was the thing actually running his body just now. He kept throwing out questions, but nobody answered him. He clenched his jaw and pushed himself to heal up, even though it hurt like crazy. Then it hit him, was still stuck in the lab somewhere. He knew he had to go get her. In the lab, had just put together a homemade flamethrower using some alcohol. She grabbed her stuff and rushed over to where Yu was last seen. She made it to the door, but then footsteps started thumping overhead. A few seconds later, a bunch of mutants with gross, fleshy skin suddenly dropped in from above. She fired up her flamethrower like it was nothing. Fire took over one guy, crackling and popping as it spread. The flames faded almost instantly, and the creature just got right back up. Gunshots ripped right through it. She showed up, police uniform on, ready to handle whatever was going down. They teamed up and took down all three mutants almost instantly. Out of nowhere, more mutants started dropping down from the ceiling vents, one after another. The policewoman wasted no time shutting down the shotguns. She kept both mutants under control, making sure they couldn't pull anything. The moment the limiters came off, these fused creatures just went off, ripping through everything around them. They took out the whole room in no time, like nothing could slow them down. When everything finally calmed down, she flipped the power back. Right away, both mutants just chilled out, acting tame like nothing even happened. Felt the weight finally lift off his shoulders and just went straight for her, pulling him into a tight hug. At the same time, the mutants that got taken out by their own crew started shriveling up, with that dark gel leaking out until they looked totally dried out. In seconds, they just fell apart and turned straight to dust. Even the ones humans tried to burn or shoot just got back up. Dark globs all over the room started pulling themselves back together. The leftovers came together again, changing into something new. They crawled off into the vents, trying not to make a sound. And his crew grabbed some cement and sand, sealing up the ground floor lobby so nothing could get through. The barricade stopped any mutants from getting in, and standing on the second floor, they could see everything outside. Crossbows set up by the windows meant they were ready for anything trying to break through the tough glass doors. Wrapped up putting traps all over the upstairs, then jumped in to help the group haul food and water into the meeting room. The spot was basically a bunker, no windows, zero cracks in the ceiling, just one door they needed to watch. He had enough stuff from the supermarket to chill for months without stressing about running out. Still wasn't anywhere to be found. After catching his breath for a bit, took the squad upstairs to keep searching. Inside the lab, the mutants who were still around had already soaked up the dark gel and finished their second mutation. Even with all the gunfire and flames, those things just dropped for a second. They weren't staying down for good. The mutated principle was the only thing that could actually wipe them out, since it could pull the dark gel right out of their bodies. One of its mutants totally lost control and got eaten up. Another mutant just straight up ate its heart. The dark gel started doing its thing, kicking off a whole new level for him. Neither's flamethrower nor the policewoman's rifle made any difference. The thing just kept coming like nothing happened. The boils on its shoulders puffed up until they popped, shooting out 2 chunks of flesh. Yelled for everyone to get down. They dropped to the ground right before things got wild. The meat spike's shop went by. His fist smashed straight through the wall, leaving a huge hole like it was nothing. A single spike shot out and went straight through the mutated principle. He lost it and just whipped his massive arm, slicing the creature clean in two. He pulled the dark gel straight out of its body and took it in. He went for the heart too, eating it without even hesitating. While the principle started changing once more, showed up behind him and got the shotgun ready to go again. The current hit him hard, making his whole body jerk out of control before he dropped to the ground. Suddenly, before anyone even had time to react, the chopped-up limbs on the floor started moving. The pieces of the mutants were pulling themselves together, literally coming back to life right in front of everyone. His mind started racing. He knew the principal was the only one with those arm spikes that could shoot dark gel and totally melt other mutants for good. But after eating so many people, the principal's heart was changing again, getting even weirder. If they wanted to keep him in check, they'd have to set up more shotguns once they handled the rest. He and the team started throwing the mutants' limbs down the stairs, not even hesitating. He'd pour alcohol all over them and light them up. Fire was everywhere, but these monsters just kept coming. Even when they got torn up and burned, they just pulled themselves back together, looking even tougher. Regular people couldn't do anything to stop them anymore. At this point, only other mutants stood a chance against their own. Right at that moment, the shotgun wired up to the principal just shut off. The guy looked totally done, barely managing to get out a few words about how he was so close to retiring and now his bonus was taking a hit. He glanced at Wei like it was all his fault, almost blaming him for everything going sideways. Out of nowhere, his arm shot forward. People got knocked back everywhere. They slammed down onto the first floor, hitting the ground way harder than anyone would want. Could tell that if the principal kept taking in more mutants, things were about to go off the rails. He knew he had to move fast before it was too late. He tightened his grip on the axe and brought it down hard. The blade cut straight into the principal's chest. The principal stayed completely calm. A sharp bone shot straight into his head and blood started pouring out. Yi's jaw dropped a little. He pulled out a shotgun and just let it rip. The thing went flying and landed right in the principal's mouth. Electricity buzzed through him, lighting him up from the inside. He was still on his feet. The principal swung his arm again, aiming straight at Dijon. Tossed his axe to the ground. He took off running straight at the high-voltage control room, not slowing down for anything. The arm, cut clean off, actually started moving after him and followed him right into the house. Out of nowhere, it snatched the live wire and sparks just lit up the whole room. The principal yelled out and jerked back, hurting pretty bad. He stepped right into his own mind, like he was diving into another version of himself. Right when he lifted his hand, ready to hit, ripped the cable out and shoved it straight into his chest. The principal's whole body started shaking hard, like he totally lost control. Cranked the knob all the way up. He went straight for the max voltage. He took off out of the room, not looking back. For a few seconds, the sound of sparks just took over the room, then everything went totally quiet. Hit the breaker, then walked back inside. The principal was just gone. There was nothing left but ashes. All that was left was a heart, barely hanging on and still pulsing. Just stopped in his tracks. He grabbed his axe and got ready to smash it. He swung the blade, but it just wouldn't go through. He jammed the live cable back into it, not holding back at all. The heart thumped once, then just merged straight into the axe. Now that the dark gel and the mutant spike were fused into the axe, this thing could actually take out the rest of them. The weapon was stacked, finally strong enough to drop any of those creatures for good. Downstairs, the female officer just stopped dead in her tracks. All the mutants on the first floor had straight up merged into one. Everything started twisting together until it turned into this huge, messed up creature. And the officer froze up, both of them shaking and looking like they might dip any second. Right then, Teacher rushed straight at the creature, putting himself on the line just to give everyone else a chance. The three women hurried up the stairs, trying to get to the second floor as quick as possible. The monster's huge hand grabbed his head, squeezing tight and looking like it was about to smash it. Ms. tripped up and couldn't even make it to the stairs. When the noise started up, the mutant grabbed and pulled her over. She stood there shaking, totally frozen, so scared she couldn't even control herself. Jean, barely catching his breath, jumped in and put himself on the line. He didn't want anyone else hurt. He'd rather take the hit than watch her go down. His head got crushed in the monster's hand like it was nothing. While he was moving around, a medical report accidentally fell out of his pocket. Written diagnosis showed up. The tumor in his head had spread pretty bad. The meds could keep things going for a few more months, but after that, his organs would start shutting down. He never got to see his daughter again, and it hit him that she was the same age as. He didn't hesitate to give up his life. He grabbed onto the mutant's arm with everything he had left, not letting go as he tried to pull her back. Things took a turn for the worse. The monster slammed its foot down on stomach and she was gone just like that. That's what landed right on John. Both of them ended up dying side by side, their blood pooling together under the creature. The mutant glanced up at the second floor. The weird sacs on its shoulders puffed up, then exploded with a loud pop, launching gross spikes right at the officer and dodged to the side with the two women right behind him. The spikes crashed into the wall, blasting out these massive craters. It just got way stronger, like it leveled up again. Out of nowhere, Teacher, who everyone just saw die, got back up. His head was covered in this weird, pale fungus. He quietly said that someone would have to trade his life for hers. He chucked a chunk of that white fungus right at the mutant. The stuff moved fast, covering the whole creature in no time. Jean didn't even look human anymore. He straight up looked like a monster. Upstairs, Yi and the rest of the crew just stood there, frozen. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Shoved his arm straight into the monster's stomach, not holding back at all. Inside its body, cancer cells just took off and started spreading everywhere. The creature lunged, and one of its heads chomped down hard, ripping off half of skull like it was nothing. He lost his balance and dropped to the ground, not moving at all. Let out a wild yell and launched himself off the second floor. He swung his axe and it smashed right into the mutant's chest. Black goo shot out of the blade. Blood poured straight into the creature's skin. The black liquid moved quick, taking over everything in its path. In just a few seconds, the mutant broke down and disappeared, and all that was left behind was a heart. Went for another swing, but the heart slipped out of the way before he could land it. The thing launched itself right into his body, taking over and becoming his new head. The heart darted around so quick that the axe didn't stand a chance. Clenched his fists, ready to throw hands. He was done talking, now it was all about action. Black gel started oozing out of his skin and covered his whole arm. The mutant let out a loud yell, and even more of that black stuff started pouring out. The whole floor got covered. Out of nowhere, heard this voice in his head, almost like it was sliding into his DMs, asking if he really didn't want to just hand over control of his body. He didn't even hesitate this time. He just shut it down and decided he'd take care of things on his own. Right in front of him, the creature's black slime shifted and shaped itself into a copy of his face. Jumped in, ready to go. Both of them swung at the same time, and when their punches connected, the mutant's arms just snapped apart. Went for it again and slammed its face hard. The hit smashed into the ground so hard that the floor caved in. The monster took another wild swing. Its power just took over, shutting everything else down. Its arm blew apart again. The mutant fell down hard, knees hitting the ground as it let out a loud cry. Yanked out his own heart and just grinned, looking like he was ready for whatever. He seemed to be deciding whether to cook it up or just toss it to his axe, not even bothered. He started thinking about just eating it himself. He didn't do it. Instead, he just let the axe and mutated take in the dark gel, since only a mutant could handle another mutant's power. Ms. was still alive, so Wai told the officer and to take her over to the meeting room. After that, he went downstairs to the underground parking lot to look for Wai. And teacher head down to the underground parking garage, looking around for Xiang. Mutants came charging from all directions, but every single one just crumbled when they faced the power in his jaw. Whatever he touched got wrecked right away the second he made contact. The thing dropped, already done for. Last time they left Dachshund, the garage was dead silent. Now it was packed with monsters everywhere. Lifted his axe and started pulling the dark gel out of every mutant he knocked down, stacking up power with each one. As they moved further in, the mutants kept getting tougher. Nobody could hold out for long once started going off. Out of nowhere, a mutant monkey at stage 2 jumped straight out of the darkness. Got slammed straight to the ground. Didn't waste a second, he just went for it, took a swing, and the monkey's head dropped right off. Not far off, he heard a quiet cry coming from inside a van. Moved quick and went straight for the window, ready to break it. A little girl peeked out from her spot and looked up at him, hoping he could help her get out of there. Her voice was shaky. She shared that she hadn't eaten in days. By now, everyone around her had changed, acting like total monsters. Noticed how scared and tiny she looked, so he just nodded. He moved in, standing on either side of her, making sure she was safe in the middle. The girl couldn't stop looking at how messed up looked. She got spooked and drifted toward the back, keeping her distance. He kept glancing over his shoulder, worried something could pop up behind him. She just took off in front of everyone else. As she kept walking, her nerves started to spike. Every step had her thinking a mutant could pop out any second. She freaked out and sprinted straight back to the van. A mutant rushed right at her, not holding back at all. Sprinted up and grabbed her, moving her out of the way right before things got bad. He followed the streaks of dark gel until he ended up at a vent shaft. The vent suddenly popped open. Dead mutants just started pouring out everywhere. Out of nowhere, his whole body turned purple as he crawled forward. He finally found it, the one he'd been looking for this whole time. It was his classmate.
Lately, I've had a strong addiction to watching manhwa and manga recap videos. Every single day, I find myself binging one after another, losing hours and days doing absolutely nothing productive. And honestly, it's getting out of hand. So, maybe we can make these viral videos too. I mean, look at the views, the growth, the community these creators are building. It looks simple, right? But that's a trap. You go down this endless rabbit hole, spending money, losing sleep, hiring editors and writers from Fiverr and Upwork, and still feel like you've been robbed. Because don't forget how emotional the YouTube algorithm can be with making videos go viral. It's unpredictable, especially when the market's saturated, competition's relentless, and somehow other creators are dropping 10-hour videos daily while you're stuck trying to finish one. That's when I realized something had to change. So, I built the solution, the Web2 Narrative Suite, a complete one-click system that handles everything from cropping, script narration, text-to-speech, image processing, and full video generation in one smooth process. Save money, reduce hours of work, and have a tool that only gives you straight results. Click on the link down below and experience it for yourself. And if you want even more tools to supercharge your YouTube recap journey, visit my Ko-Fi and Patreon pages where I drop weekly new tools designed to keep you ahead as AI continues to steal our jobs. So tap in now before you get left behind.